up a note card for everybody, and if you could take 30 seconds to a minute to draw yourselves. That's my start. So while you guys are drawing, this is an example of the perception of body image. So research shows that women will draw their insecurities bigger, and men just won't draw their insecurities at all. So, but that's because of body image. So the topics I'm going into today are: when does body image start, the causes for body image, the effects of body image, the similarities and differences between the sexes when it comes to body image, and my biblical integration. But before I get into my presentation, I kind of want to just give everyone a clear idea of what body image really is. Because when I started my research, I believed that body image was just kind of like shoulders, arms, stomach, leg, like the major body parts. But it can also be like your hair, height, skin, eye color, like more minor components as well. But Google simply defines body image as a person's subjective picture or mental image of their own body. And that basically means like when you look in the mirror, like what you see isn't what like everybody else sees of you. It's not like the true reality. So when does body image start? So research shows that the average first grader or second grader begins thinking of body image, which is insane to me because like they should be outside swinging at recess or playing dress up or with Legos, just being a kid. They shouldn't be thinking about their body, or they shouldn't even know what body image is. So that's concerning to me. And this is a picture of second graders at our school, actually, just so you can visually see like how young they truly are. And that's just horrible. But another thing that's concerning is that kids are already considering reasons or ways to fix themselves, including like steroids and plastic surgery, which can have negative effects on you. So reasons for why it starts early would be bullies and family. So obviously, like, anyone can look in the mirror and be like, oh, I don't like that about myself, I don't really like that. But it's not really like confirmed, I guess, in our head until someone kind of points that out to you also and confirms that it's bad. So that's where bullies come in, and that can be in person or just online. But also, not just are they like confirming your insecurities, but they can also acknowledge a thing about yourself that you didn't even know was like a problem in a way, and give you a new insecurity, a new thing to be insecure about. And also family, which surprised me a bit because typically you think your family should be supporting you and not in a way tearing you down. That's not true. I'm sure we've all heard of the term almond mom, which is basically a mom who kind of forces her eating habits on her kids, and in a way it ingrains these eating habits into your kids, which obviously like being healthy isn't bad, but like as a kid, you're impressionable, so like when you think you can only eat a certain way and like eating sometimes unhealthy, like that's bad, then like that's kind of what you're going through, and then you'll pass that on to your kids as well. So causes for body image. So I figured that celebrities and social media were the causes for body image. So when you scroll on Instagram, you compare yourself subconsciously to everything you're seeing, whether you know that or not. And this is totally unfair because celebrities have the resources, dietitians, athletic trainers, all these things to make themselves, who they are, who they present to us. And, in our heads we're like, oh, I should have this, I should have that, I should look like them, I should have their hair and their skin. And that's just unfair for us because we can't compare to what they have. But not just with celebrities, but with social media, we compare ourselves to each other. So, again, we're comparing, and we've created this comparison culture where, we just try to, see who's better than who. And that's a lose-lose situation, because if, you end up winning, I guess, against whoever you're comparing yourself to, then you're putting yourself above them, and that's not right. And then if you lose, then you come out feeling worse about yourself than you did going into the comparison. So it's just better to not compare yourself. The effects of body image. So one of the main effects of body image is low self-esteem. So obviously, if you're not very confident in your body, you're not going to be a super confident person overall. And self-esteem is defined as how you value and respect yourself as a person. It is the opinion that you have of yourself inside and out. So low self-esteem causes jealousy, which is kind of what I went over in my last slide with comparison culture, how, we just want to compare and compare and compare, and that makes us jealous of everybody else and bitter. And also it causes low success rates, so that could be on the tests you take today or a job that you have in the future in like 10 years time. But yeah, it's been shown that if you aren't confident in yourself, then you're not going to be successful in life. And lastly, negative self-talk. So rather than building yourself up, you're going to be super negative and tear yourself down. And then my second effect of body image would be relationship problems. So it starts with like your own personal insecurities that kind of flow out into your relationships, and that can be with family, friends, or like your romantic partner. And that leads to misinterpretations, which obviously cause mishaps in your relationship. And the only really cure, I guess, would be self-compassion and to give yourself grace with your insecurities. So, body image similarities and differences between the sexes. So, body dysmorphic disorder, also known as BDD. So, BDD is a mental health condition where one can only think about their physical flaws. BDD symptoms can look like avoiding social situations, frequently seeking approval from others about your appearance, believing that people are always mocking you or trying to fix your flaws, and having anxiety and depression can also heighten your chances of getting BDD. But why this is so serious is because it causes self-harm tendencies, and that includes suicide. And that was my similarity. So the differences between men and women would be eating disorders and muscle dysmorphia. So obviously a man can have an eating disorder and a woman can have muscle dysmorphia, but women do tend to have eating disorders more, and men tend to struggle with muscle dysmorphia more. But eating disorders, which I found interesting, isn't just dieting and fasting, but it's also binging, which has the opposite effect of what women want when they get an eating disorder. So approximately 91% of women are unhappy with their bodies and resort to dieting to achieve their ideal body shape. So they think it's easier to just go diet rather than go to the gym and try to lose the weight if they're insecure with that. In men with muscle dysmorphia, that can look like checking the appearance of your muscles, or comparing your muscles to other guys. So males with muscle dysmorphia are typically involved in sports stressing size and strength, such as football, wrestling, or competitive bodybuilding. So they get muscle dysmorphia because they think they have to be super big to compete in their sport and to excel in their sport. But another reason why men tend to get muscle dysmorphia is because our culture has created this belief that in order to be masculine, you have to be incredibly muscular, and that's not true. But because of that, men are struggling with muscle dysmorphia because they want to be considered the man, I guess. And then my biblical integration. So I thought this passage went very well with my topic. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. So, four things that I kind of got from these verses were we are perfectly made in God's image. We should be thankful for God's blessings and His sacrifice. God will always love us. And lastly, God created us so that we could spread His good news and worship Him. And He created all of us with our own purpose as well. And why this topic is important to me is because, well, I'm an older sister and sort of an older sister figure to some of the younger girls on the track team. And, you know, just seeing them kind of grow up and progress throughout the season and seeing my sister grow up, I've seen, you know, just how fun, sweet, and loving they are. And it kind of hurts my heart to think that, like, they can't see what I see in them because, you know, they're beautiful young ladies. And, you know, they shouldn't find their worth in their appearance, but find their worth in Christ because He has created us perfectly in His image. And He will always love us, and He's given us a purpose. So for us to disregard what He's given us is, you know, saying that we're better than Him and we don't need Him. So that's where I started.
Ms. Worthing, you're our guest teacher, so do you have any questions or feedback?
It's just a topic that applies to women of all ages, you know, and I still struggle with that and struggle with it now, and my sister as well, and then my daughter, my nieces, and then my loving students here. I mean, yeah, it's a very powerful topic, and we need to keep reminding ourselves that God has carefully and wonderfully made each one of us, so appreciate those words of wisdom and also your heart for your sister and younger girls here at the school. So, very well done.
Thank you.
Caroline, I really liked that you had a lot of balance in the whole thing. Like you talked about the social media thing, that you didn't make it just about that. You talked about how and personally you mentioned how it touches the lives of yourself, other girls and women in your life, but also guys deal with this, albeit maybe in a different way and sometimes similarly, right? So that was really interesting. I like that. And it's also really interesting. Earlier today, we had a presentation on pride and arrogance, and it's almost like the opposite of what you're talking about, right? Like the idea of thinking too much of yourself versus the idea of, like you said, like you seen a problem that nobody else sees, in yourself, right? And so, and it's also interesting because of, it seems like the causes are very related, right? On your slide, if y'all were paying attention to the slide, that talked about social media, it talked about how studies show people who take a break from social media tend to start reporting better self-image. Go figure, right? And not to just dump on social media the whole time, but all right. So anyways, all interesting stuff. A couple questions I have for you. Did you and I know we got two presentations, so I want to kind of hustle through this. You mentioned it's crazy that so much of the negative self-talk, that's an issue, but so much of it, and we can talk about, like, for different people, which came first, like the external stuff or the internal stuff, right? I would imagine it's different for a lot of people. It's interesting in a really frightening way that family is a big source of the negative self-talk. Moms and I'm taking it to heart, dads and, you know, whoever. You used a term and I didn't catch it. Talking about moms and
almond moms.
Say an
What
almond.
is that?
Almond
Yeah,
mom.
I was going to ask you.
Could you explain that a little bit?
How do you spell that?
Like almond mom.
Like the nut.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one that why is it called almond?
Yeah.
Oh, because they're obsessed with their weight?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a thing.
That makes
Like
sense.
that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So here's, again, I'm trying to read. Here's your opportunity as the expert, right? I have a daughter.
Yeah.
And she's in 4th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, I've already heard comments about her, like comments that she makes about herself, that I wish these thoughts will never cross her mind, but especially this early, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can give me some advice, how can I as a father make sure to avoid, I don't think I'm in danger of being an almond dad,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I know that much of how my daughter sees herself, and my son for that matter, but maybe speak to both, but how much of their self-image comes from me and how I can give them as good of a self-image as possible.
Just being, I think, there for them, just with anything, and just trying to be a good example for them, and being confident in yourself, so that they'll see their dad being confident. They'll be like, oh, since my dad's like this, I should be like that because I respect him and I trust him. So then they'll naturally, I think, have a confidence in themselves, but just have compassion as well.
Thank you. Yeah, chapel schedule, we gotta move on.